All right, let's get into it. All right, I've seen a couple videos online about some of the druggings that have been happening in Rio, and I want to talk a little bit about it. I'm actually in Rio right now. I am in downtown Centro. See if I can show you a little bit. I'm not sure if I can. But this is downtown Rio. For reference point, the karaoke station is this way. Rio Blanco, if you're familiar with downtown, is probably 4-minute walk. Lapa is over towards that direction. It's probably about a 10-minute walk away. So it's a nice area. This is a nice area if you don't want to stay in Copa or you want to switch things up. I like the downtown area. The museums are, just not far away. It's actually around the block from where I am. And there's things to do at nighttime around here also. I know everybody says that it's kind of dead at nighttime, but they've got a couple eateries out here that always seem to have like little parties going on in this area. And like I say, Lapa is about 10-minute walk away. However, I would not suggest you walk to Lapa at nighttime. It's not safe to do that at night. In daytime is fine, but at nighttime I would not suggest it. It's best to take a cab from one location to the other. But I'm here to talk about some of the videos that I've seen online that's talking about some of the druggings that have been happening in Rio. Well, that's not new. That's been happening. Just as it's been happening in Colombia. In Colombia, they call it scopolamine, or in Spanish, escopolina. In Rio, it's called Good Night Cinderella, or Boa Noche Cinderella. Different drug, but ultimately the same effect. Now in Medellin, it may happen more often, but then again, there are more YouTubers that are talking about it in Medellin, so it's going to seem like it's a lot more prevalent than it is in Rio, and almost as though it's non-existent in Rio because you don't have a lot of people talking about it. For example, in Medellin, you've got YouTube channels that are dedicated specifically for the crime that's going on in Colombia. Well, you don't have that in Rio. So you might sense kind of an imbalance of the things that are occurring in both cities. But I can tell you, I've got a guy I was talking to about 2 weeks ago, no, a week ago actually, in Rio, and we were, for whatever reason, just came up and started talking about being careful and some crimes and things that happened. And he was telling me that he went out with one of his friends, and they went to a couple bars, had a good time, met some girls. They started drinking more, went to a few more bars, a club, and he said the night was really getting late. But he decided that it was enough for him, and he wanted to go home. So he went home and actually left his friend with a couple of the girls. They wanted to continue their evening. He said they did, and when he talked back to his buddy, he said those girls drugged him and they robbed him. He said they took his phone, they took his computer, took some other things from his house, and he even said they drained his bank account, and they took out a loan. They took out a loan. Now I started asking him, how in the world did they take out of a loan, or would have even had time in order to do that? But long story short, the way he explained to me is that it's like what you would think of a payday loan. He said that you can actually go on the application to your bank and request a quick loan that will be granted to you. So he said that's what those girls did. They had his phone, they applied for this quick payday loan, and even took all the money of his bank account as well as a loan out in his name. So it happens in Brazil, it happens in Colombia. You just hear about it more in Colombia. Case in point, last year there were several channels and people that were talking about the U.S. Embassy's warning that was issued last summer, talking about being careful about scopolamine druggings that were occurring in Colombia. They were using these sedatives in order to drug individuals, and then they would rob them. So would advise people to not use those dating applications or meeting strangers in bars and clubs and such. And a lot of channels were talking about that. Big warning, everybody look out. Well, did you know that a couple months later, that the U.S. Embassy also released a report about Brazil? And they said it was a widespread use of sedatives. Those were the words that the U.S. Embassy used. Now, I don't know if you've ever worked for the government or worked with the government or had any interactions with the government, then you know how slow the U.S. government works. You know, you go into any post office, they work slow at their own pace. It's a government job. So you know the government works slow. So for them to be able to release statements that say a widespread use, you know how many reports they probably received of this thing happening? And over how long of a period of time that they received it for them to start to put out a press release associated with that? So it's not uncommon. But again, whether it happens at the same rate as in Colombia, I don't know. I didn't look at any statistics. I'm just telling you to be careful when you decide to come out to Rio or anywhere else. Another case in point, Buenos Aires, Argentina. U.S. Embassy released a report maybe a couple months ago, 2-3 months ago, stating they call it the Black Widow, right? So in Colombia, it's scopolamine. In Rio, it's called Good Night Noche, Good Night Cinderella. In Buenos Aires, they call it the Black Widow. Same report. There have been an increase druggings in order to rob people in Buenos Aires. Same MO. Dating applications, bars and clubs, watch your drinks whenever you're walking around in the city. So you need to be careful. Just because you haven't heard about it on YouTube doesn't mean it's not occurring in these locations. You need to do the best that you can in order to inform yourself before you go to the destinations and find out what measures you need to put in place. Because if you think about it, I mean, that type of crime right now is big business. And businesses are going to expand. It's not just only going to be in one city or one country. If it's working, you better believe that the surrounding cities or surrounding countries, especially if they have the same economic situation, that they're going to start implementing those same types of tactics. I mean, it's just in business. If you go to Seattle and you see that somebody opened up a coffee shop and it's a line around the corner, and you're going to go to your home state in Florida or wherever, and you're going to start the same kind of business. You know, when McDonald's started, hey, the person with Burger King said, hey man, these quick burgers are working. I'm going to start my own business. Same situation. This crime is paying. And a lot of people are getting involved in it at a higher rate than before, because now in the technology age, not only can they steal what you are walking around or your personal possessions in your hotel or your room, such as your phone, such as your computer, such as your jewelry or cash, but now these operations have been they're sophisticated now where they can even get money from abroad in your hometown. They can take money out of your bank account. They can access your crypto accounts, your Cash App accounts. And you know, you just got to be careful about that, and you've got to put measures in place so that you can limit the damage if you're so unfortunate enough to be victimized in that kind of situation. So if you're traveling and your primary reason for traveling is to meet other people for relationship purposes, then you need to be careful. You need to be especially careful because these situations are happening, and they're not just happening in the countries that you've heard about, but they're happening across a large swath of other countries. And you can expect that they will continue to happen, and you should expect that the rise will increase. And do your own research. Always do your own research. Get research from different people, but always look and try to see more before you travel to a destination. Like for instance, Thailand. People say Thailand is super safe. Oh, Thailand is wonderful. Nothing will ever happen to you in Thailand. Nothing will happen to you in Thailand? Are there people in Thailand? Well, something could possibly happen. Man, that's human nature. My point is that whenever you're traveling, you need to be careful, and especially if you're traveling to meet people for relationship type of purposes, you need to be especially careful, because there are organizations, there are people that are targeting you throughout Latin America and throughout other countries, because people are people. And if the model works, people are going to use the model. And you've got to be careful at all times in every situation. And when I talk about getting your information, get your information from YouTube. YouTube is a valuable source in order to get information from your favorite travel YouTubers. Get that information, but also check your U.S. Embassy. You need to be finding out what kind of crimes, what kind of scams are actually going on. What are the cultural do's and don'ts of a particular city? Is there any civil unrest that's going on? Because these things are going to affect your experience, and you want to make sure that you have a safe and wonderful experience in these countries. But enjoy your time. I mean, it's a lot to see in this world, a lot of beautiful things to see and enjoy in different cultures. But do your research and also make sure that you're safe. All right. If you like the video, please subscribe. Please hit the like button. For a new content creator, that really means a lot. Really encourages a person to do more videos. So thanks again for watching.